Hello, hello, hello. Welcome to my channel, Lunatic Place. I'm the lunatic who plays City Skylines. We are back in our magnificent town of Brightwater, which we have successfully completed revamping in the last 3 episodes. But here we are. Take a look. Take it all in. This is where we are at now. The series doesn't really have a name yet. So I've been researching, and since this is a city that is going to be basically a Frankenstein of different European architectural and city planning influences, I wanted to create a name for it that would symbolize unity, togetherness, union. And since I've already built a town of Europa, I feel like that was a little bit overused. So I've come up with an aid of Aria, the AI of Opera browser. I've come up with a name, Concordia, that symbolizes like an accord between different nations. This way, we can explain away why we have a British town right next to Soviet-era communist blocks, why we will have Mediterranean architectural influences around our islands, why we're going to have a Central European town center and a French quarter, and hell, why not? We're gonna throw in a Chinatown while at it. So that's what we're doing, and that's where we are at. But before we get into all these wonderful mixing up of different architectural elements, we do need to think about transport. And in the revamping of Brightwater, I have come across something that was a little bit challenging. So I wanted to introduce this train station, which you can see here is the elevated train station that is right up here in Brightwater. And let me tell you something, introducing trucks to a town that's already been built, bit of a challenge. So in today's episode, not only are we starting a new format in which these episodes are going to be presented to you, we've talked about it in the last episode. I'm gonna try to do away or do with less these kind of accelerated footage elements in these videos going forward. I will try to do kind of like a before after in 3 or 4 steps of like, if we're starting like with a field of grass and we want to place a low residential neighborhood, I will do a shot where it's just the grass field, then transition into the field with roads, then transition from the field with roads to a field with roads and buildings, and then another transition, field with roads and buildings and detail. And then I'll jump in and show you around kind of like interesting bits and pieces. Obviously, if I will build something unique, different, come up with a new way to engage with props or materials of the game, I will include that as a kind of like an edited accelerated footage just to show you how it was created. But I'm gonna save those accelerated footage for those special elements that make the game more complete. So like these Georgian homes that we built, that I kind of took the Northeast American assets and I revamped them. I deleted everything that they came with. I changed their colors. I added their own gardens, everything makeshift, everything DIY. Or the little mall that we have here, that's basically a greenhouse and a bunch of fences or walls put together. So things like that I'll still include to you so that you can see how it's built. But there's also a lot of repetition, and I just don't know if there's much point in me showing you every single time I repeat a step. You know what I mean? So in these situations, we're just gonna be completing our neighborhoods in these 3 steps. This way, I can still build a lot in one episode without taking over an hour to show you the footage, because I know like an hour-long episode, it's a lot, and I don't want to ask from you to have to sit there paying attention to it, because sometimes it gets dull, it gets repetitive. Like when I'm building it, I'm listening to audiobooks, probably like if I wasn't I didn't have auditory stimulation in the form of just knowledge and wisdom from the books that I'm getting, I probably wouldn't be doing this. But it's very meditative for me, so that's why I do it. But there goes a lot of hours, a lot of detail into it. So I want to be a little bit more smart in the way that I present it to you. So I hope that you will enjoy this new format. And now what we are going to do today, this is the railway episode. I might throw in a little revamp of our industrial estate that we've built, because we've went away from playing with money and playing with steps. We've unlocked everything. So we are ready to get into the nitty-gritty details of it all. So the point for today is complete the railways, create tracks. We're gonna have to create a station for Greenwood Glen. We're gonna have to bring our rail networks kind of like into our immediate surroundings in the map, possibly create at least an entryway to the main city's central station, just to plan ahead of it. I think like starting our main city from a central station is a very smart way to start. So that's what we're going to start with. I also want to have an industrial rail yard in the old industrial site that we've built many episodes ago, and revamp the whole estate as such. And yeah, there will be a lot of kind of like building networks, tunnels, quays, walls, yada yada yada, a little bit of a revamp, a little bit of detailing with the Greenwood Glen station, and that's it. And to begin with, as a little nitty-gritty bit of detail for Brightwater, something that we haven't exactly done is we haven't reintroduced our buses. So let's start with that. And the way that we're going to plan for it, we are now going to move on to the road network map of Brightwater, and we're going to mark our routes kind of like in a planning sort of way. Stay with me. Let's get to it. Okay, so here is the map of Brightwater and its roads. I marked out in magenta the bus station, the major bus station. This bus station is going to be used mainly for buses coming from outside connections. So my first step is to mark out the stops that I would like to have along the quays. This is going to be the Brightwater line that kind of circles all around Brightwater. It's basically like a reconstructed version of the original line that we had going through the town. So in these general areas, that's where I want the stops to exist. Now, probably the first thing that we're going to do overall is to include a road going through our secondary school. We're probably going to have to redo that whole secondary school campus, the BHIT, the Brightwater Harbor IT that we've placed in there. And I want to introduce a bus stop for buses that will be going through the high school, delivering kids to school. And that's going to be right here marked in the magenta. Then the starting point of the Brightwater loop is going to be moved from the old stop to this road over here marked in red, where we have all of the low residential estates. Reason being is because it is a less busier road, so it makes it a perfect candidate for a bus stop and a beginning of a line. So like if the buses have to stop there for a while, it's not the highest kind of traffic area, they can do that. And also with the expansion of all the Soviet blocks, we've reduced the upper neighborhood, and also there is a stop of the beginning of the red line. Coincidentally, the red dots are not the red line. The red line is the one going through the Soviet estates. Keep on. This is our list of stops. all around Brightwater. I think that this is a good choice because it kind of delivers everyone to all of the estates. As you can see, there's not really a stop going through all the Georgian homes, but I think that we have a bunch of stops in around that area that can justify there not being too much bus traffic going through there, especially that we have more narrow streets there. There's a lot going on, like trees wise, so that would be a neighborhood that we maybe prioritize more like peace and quiet. But also, if you see that the main stop on Hill Street, it's just right next to the little alley that passes through to the Georgian estates, so they can actually use the Hill Street stop to access all the Georgian homes. I kind of want, for like picturesque idea, I wanted to have a stop nearby the visitor center for our Brightwater Abbey ruin and cemetery, but I ended up opting in for including the stop on the lower side where the cemetery is. Less picturesque, but I think it's more utilitarian in terms of like getting people delivered to the shopping shop, the supermarket, and access to the gardens from like the back end street, also to the business park, and also they have a very easy access down to where we have our mall and Brightwater Quays. So I just figured that was a better choice. Then obviously we have a stop down by the church, we have the stop down by both of the schools, we have a stop down by our rail yard industrial park. So that is our Brightwater loop. Now let's have a look at how we're going to incorporate the other lines coming through. So notably, I want to have the red line, which is marked in purple, not confusing at all, I know, coming through the valley. It's going to stop in the new stop down by the kind of like little shopping parking lot thingy that we've built, and come down, go over to the primary school, then Hill Street, then the church, then down by the ruins, then through the quays, up to the secondary school, rail yard industrial park, and back up again into the Soviet estates. So that's one of the lines, but I also want to have an express line that's going to specifically deliver people down to the bus station on the quays. So here is the marked in orange where this is gonna go. It's gonna come in through the same way. It's gonna stop down by the little commercial center. It's gonna come down straight down through Hill Street, go down to the quays, take a turn, and stop on our intercity bus stop. Now, next we need to connect Greenwood Glen. So Greenwood Glen is gonna come in here from, let's say this is the west. It's gonna come in from the west. East. Not confusing at all. I'm sorry, guys. It's coming in from the east. It's coming in from the east, and it's stopping all along the quays, and then stopping on the bus station. Then it turns around and goes back to Greenwood Glen. We have enough lines circulating Brightwater with the two slow-moving lanes, one coming from the Soviet estates, one just circulating the low residential estates and the rest of Brightwater. I think that we have enough estates and we have enough lines to compensate. So if people are coming from Greenwood Glen, they can just come into the stop and change their bus and go wherever they want to go in Brightwater. Anyways, the Brightwater is not that big, it's not that complicated. They can walk a little bit. And this is the line out of all of the bus lines. So as I said before, the first step will be to revamp our BHIT campus, include our stops, include our roads, zhuzh it up, revamp it, and make it beautiful. So let's do that. Okie dokie. So, our BHIT, Brightwater Harbor IT, has been revamped. Revamping continues. And this is what it looks like. Sorry, I pulled the camera away so quickly. Yeah, I've deleted basically everything, all the networks, all the crops, all the props that came with the asset. Obviously, we've added our road here, and I've added the bus lanes. I added the bus stops, and we've got ourselves a neat little campus. It's kind of like, it's really packed into a reasonably small space, but I really like it. I really like how it ended up looking. The police car there breaking my illusion. We've got a little bike stop here where the students can leave their bikes. So we have this dormitory here. I put this red brick because I've been using it more and more. I've been using it in the pedestrian islands, so I kind of want to include some of those types of surfaces, and I figured that here it would work. So this is what we have. I also used the bumps. They look like this. They don't really have much depth. It's just a network, but yeah, they're cool. They're really cool. We've got a little fountain. We've got lights. The lights stay on during the day. I don't know if it's like a mod thing or whatever, but they are lights that I've placed using Find It. So maybe they're just like glitched to be perpetually on. I've added all the road markings, obviously. I've added decals and stuff. I added this is something I've seen this amazing city Skylines builder do recently. His name is Ruchannel, and he's a little bit of my idol, the way that he builds. And I've seen him do this, and it's like you basically lower a skyscraper, ploppable, like prop, like skyscraper prop, like non-functional skyscraper, and you drop it all the way to the ground, and you just leave like the roof part thingy, and then you like decorate it with vents and stuff, and you create like a little, I don't know, service room, an electricity room. And here's also like another bike spot. So yeah, I really love this kind of utility space. I think it's really cool. And then I included this little trash corner. Yeah. So that's what we've got here. And obviously I had to change a couple of connections. I upgraded this little road to add an additional turn, but overall it was just like a little revamp, like a little project, just to test as well this new format of the video. You let me know if you like it or not, like if you want to see more detailed way how I actually build things, or are you happy enough me explaining it to you here, or do you actually want to see it in a lot more detail? Oh, this one, sorry. Look at this. I love these gazebos, and I love this little pathway. I just think that's so cool. This sort of like makes me think there's like a student pedestrian walkway covered by a gazebo, kind of like that. The gazebo is made of concrete in the real life place at UCD campus, University City Dublin, I think, or University College Dublin, something like that. It's really great. It really is. And I included it here. I just kind of felt like it works. Yeah. And the people are using the place. They are walking. Yeah, here I see that they're walking through the plants. I've put invisible pedestrian paths for them, so these ones are using this, but I couldn't find the invisible pedestrian paths that belong to the actual building, so you know, it is what it is. This is where realism breaks. This is where we acknowledge that this is just a game. Okay, for the next stop, the rest of the bus stops. Let's get them done, and I'll be right back. Buses and lines are done. And here it is. We've got our red line express, we've got our Greenwood Glen line, and we have our Brightwater loop going around. So I think, as a little extra, let's take a ride on our Brightwater loop line and see how it looks like. Did you enjoy that? I know I did. I love to take these little shots, kind of like as if I was walking or riding around my town, or our town, shall we say, because I'm sharing it with you, so it can be ours. And yeah, the next step, now we can finally get into our Railways. So I think we can have a look at a wider map of the area, and similarly like what we did with the buses, we can plan out where do we want our rails to go. In this episode, we're not gonna do too much more detailing, I don't think. I think we can just focus on establishing the actual network, and then we can maybe make our DIY train stops and our revamp of the industrial site. If I manage to do it in this episode, we'll do it in this episode. But if not, we might just mark it down. So we'll place the industrial rail hub and then we'll rebuild it in the next one, kind of like detailing our rail entry points. So let's see how we are looking time-wise, because I know I've been yapping away. Probably now I have like 20-30 minutes on my episode. So yeah, let's get on to our map view. Let's mark out our rail lines and let's see what we can come up with. Okay, so here we are. This is the industrial site and Brightwater. Brightwater view in the kind of brownish orangish color. You can see where our tracks are. So I'm suggesting that we connect them like this. In the blue box on the industrial side, that's where I'm more or less intending to have the industrial cargo rail station. So that's where it's gonna go. If I find in my library a small rail depot, I'll put it there too. So we'll work around it. We'll definitely work with the ideas. This is just a gist of the plan of where more or less I want things to go. Obviously, there's like terrain differences and stuff like that. So that kind of actually brings us to the next point, where in red I mark where I want to have the entry and the exit of a tunnel. So the tracks that are going through the blue box, which is the cargo rail stop, that's where all the industrial lines of trains are going to be going through, and for citizen use, for passenger trains, I don't want them to be going through my industrial site, so I'm offering a bypass through the mountain and the tunnel. Not the most realistic, not the cheapest solution, but hey, we turned off our money, right? The sky is the limit. So let's avail of our newly found resources. Okay, now next up. So this is where a part of our city is going to be. This is where the old town is going to be. The Soviet estates are kind of like a prelude to the old Central European town center that's going to be more or less somewhere here. These roads that you see in the grid, they're probably gonna go. That was just like the beginning when I was still playing with milestones. This series should be sent to my psychiatrist as a proof of my ADHD. Oh, all right. So this is how on the other side the rails come out. They come out of the cargo rail stop, and they come out of the tunnel. And here in the green, I've marked more or less where I want my historic train stop to be. That's where more or less the kind of like town, at least side of the town center is going to be, where we're going to be building around it our historic old town center. So that's more or less where it's going to be. I don't really know which train station I'm going to use yet, so I don't really know how it's going to connect, but in that general area, that's where it's going to be. So, and this is more or less how they're going to connect. Obviously, you know, in practice, we might see variations on how this plan is going to be executed in real life, but it's still good to have like a gist of an idea of what we're going for. Yeah, and now this is an option for further connections of our rail, especially that I do want to connect our rails to the big industrial park that we kind of started long time ago. I want to get back there and do like a huge industrial campus with a lot of rail depots and all that kind of stuff. So this could be one way of us connecting to that area of the map. Here we have Greenwood Glen and the map, and here in brown again is the rail coming out of Brightwater. Now mind that there is a pretty serious slope, so certain variations on the following plan might happen. This is the gist of what I'm going for. In green, that's where more or less I want to have my train station. I have another idea of where to put the train station, but for the purposes of the gist of the plan, that's where I wanted to go. Here, one idea of where our rail can go off further on to the other part of the map. That's one rail intersection that we can introduce. Here is another way in which we can bring a rail further down the map, especially that's the way where the port is going to be. So there might be more kind of like rail heavy areas over there, and we need to connect all of our industrial rail lines as well. So just planning ahead for it. And now the question mark marks my other potentiality for a rail stop for Greenwood Glen, because I like this area a little bit more. I'm just concerned about how much space we have there. Probably it would have to end up being a more DIY type of train stop, but I think it's a better choice logistically, because it is closer to the actual town center of Greenwood Glen, and I think that it would just be like, I think it just works better to have it there where the question mark is. But there's definitely going to be a lot more gymnastics in getting this space to work with the purposes of what we needed to do. Like, I don't need a huge train stop, but they do tend to take a lot of space anyways. So let's see what we can come up with. I mean, if no train stop offers me the solution, we might build our own. So yeah, now, okay, that's it. Stay tuned and let's get started with step 1. Okay, let me pop in here real quick because we have built something new. So we've built fields. These are makeshift fields with makeshift cattle spawners, and I've used these British housing gates to create the entryway. It's not the height of realism, but it's the best that I had here. So yeah, I just want to show you real quick how I've made this happen, and here it goes. So first I drew up the fenced area where I wanted my field to go. Then I found a spot where I wanted my gate to go, and I have chosen my gate. Then I aligned the gate with my fences. I drew up my dirt surface network. I blended it into the ground using a second network surface. Then I lined the edges of my field with shrubs and bushes. Then I added an additional surface network of grass just to make it pop out. Finally, I placed my cattle spawners, and here it is. Alright, so here we are. As you see, I've done stuff, as I said, as I have done. So we are revamping the industrial estates. I included a lot of rail infrastructure here and also cargo rail for the delivery of cargo to our shops and whatnot. And for now, obviously, this is not detailed. I removed the trees from the hill as well, because I replaced all the trees on a Brightwater Head, and I like what I did with it. Also here, the kind of slope of the hill makes it sort of feasible to implement a couple more sheep fields, perhaps. It's not for today. I need to learn to be a little bit more organized, but I just wanted to cut in here because the phase 1 of our rail infrastructure project is this one. Before we detail this, we are gonna finish our rail infrastructure, and I think we will, consume ourselves with detailing in the next episode. So for now, I just wanted to establish the basic infrastructure of what is where, how, and blah blah blah. So basically, for the industries here, I wanted to have the cargo station, and it is here. I also wanted to have a little train depot, and here it is. I haven't laid out all the roads down yet. I'll be kind of figuring them out in accordance to the type of kind of magazines and stuff I'm going to be putting in. I might put in the bus depot if I manage to squeeze it in. If I don't, I actually relocated it over there to that industrial zone, and I can just keep it there. But yeah, this is what it is. I wanted to have the water as well. Oh yeah, this is something I want to show you. So I wanted to lower the reason why I removed our water treatment plant place is because I wanted to lower it down and kind of have it stick out on the river like this. I really like it, and it's like a whole complex. So this whole thing down here is going to be part of like a singular complex. I want to make like security booths, more parkings and stuff, like little gates for like letting certain people in, some people not. So yeah, this is gonna be for this purpose. This is like the water treatment plant, and also they produce water from the river themselves, as you can see. And here obviously we've done full detailing on all of this. We have our tunnel coming in here. We have our cliffside train ride. I added a bridge here. So this road, as you might remember, was kind of going down and offered an alternate route into Brightwater, but I was initially intending to build a bridge here because I do have to start thinking about the ways in which I'm going to connect it to the islands, and this is how. So yeah, the next step now, what we're gonna do is to go into phase 2. Phase 2 is over here. So I think we're gonna start out by drawing up the exit of the tunnel from the mountain here. Not having the trees here helps. And we're gonna draw a bridge. We're gonna probably remove these roads and establish a point of our historic town center with our historic train station. I'm probably gonna use the actually exact historic train station for this reason. And we can touch base once we get there. If I figure out something in the meantime, I think it's just gonna be me laying down the actual network. But obviously I'll pop in here. So yeah. Okay, so phase 2 complete. This was a little bit easier because less detailing, obviously. But this is what it looks like. We have our rail infrastructure set up to come in here and build our town, which is great. And I've already marked it with this historic train station, which basically acts like a rail crossroads of a sort. I like this one. This is the German asset, I believe. I wish there was something a little bit bigger. I might expand on it one day. Maybe I'll build my own. But I want to see first that we're going to build with this one, and then if we have such a need in the future after we expand to actually facilitate more rail and, add a bigger train station that we might need to build ourselves, I'll do it. But for now, I want to go with the asset that we have. Like, if I can use an asset, I'd rather use an asset. Yeah, and also can't wait for mods in that regard, because train stations, churches, and all that kind of stuff, that was my favorite type of asset mod from City Skylines 1. And anyways, so here, this is the interchange that I've edited. That was not really part of the plan originally, but it was in the back of my mind to do it. So when I was just laying down the rail network, I was just like, okay, how about we just go in here and change it. So I kind of envisioned this sort of jellyfish looking interchange, and I know it doesn't make a lot of sense because there's multiple points of entry and exit, but I precisely wanted it in this way because our kind of like main metropolitan area is going to be on the islands. So like the islands, I envision, skyscrapers, if we're going to have them, they're going to be there. I want kind of like Manhattan style, business island with skyscrapers, and everything around it is European because why not, so that's why I wanted to have multiple points of entry. So let's just have a look here. Now on the right hand side, you are able to exit in two different ways. One brings you to the roundabout. Obviously you can go down from the roundabout, but also you don't have to get onto the roundabout either. You can take an exit and bypass it underneath, and same here when you're coming from Brightwater and when you're coming from the other direction, you are able to get onto the roundabout. I imagine this roundabout will be a little bit less busy, so anyways, for now we don't have traffic on it. That's why I was just like, okay, this can be used a little bit more. I wanted to draw kind of like a central exit lane in between the two directionalities of the highway, and then drag it over and into this connection, but the highways are a bit too close and I didn't want to misalign them. So let's see if it works in this type of way. Anyways, they can avoid the second roundabout by just getting down from the bridge directly onto the bypass. And the reason I do it is because there will be pretty busy roads on either side of this roundabout, bringing traffic over into there, bringing traffic over into there. So I wanted to offer the traffic the ability to not get on there if they don't have to, and hopefully they will use it. And this is what we came up with. And honestly, I kind of like what it looks like. It's kind of I don't know, it looks kind of mercurial. And here, yes, obviously we've connected our rail infrastructure. So we have our tunnel that's over here. I think more work is gonna go into this roundabout over here when we actually go into detailing of the business estate, of the industrial estate in the next episode, because I do want to have an exit from the highway that will connect probably here. So let's see how that's gonna integrate with the bridge. Alternatively, we can also offer the exit here. I would like both, so that there's traffic can exit both ways, and this way we have exits into here and into here, where I want business parks to be. So like we'll have the industrial zone here, then we'll have like kind of business parks on these sides. It will mark a nice kind of edge of our town, and then we have all this rail infrastructure going through and then going over there to whatever's gonna be down there. So yeah, overall I think like we have a good basis for our town that gives us like more kind of points of interest of how we will structure our town and B, our infrastructure of the town. So yeah, especially if this is gonna be, well, it's not gonna really be town, it's gonna be our city, isn't it? So that's gonna be quite something. I think like for the city I want to layer it in two ways. So obviously here business parks, but now the closer you get to the river, I want the terrain to drop a little bit, and I want the old town to be kind of in these lower parts of the town, and then the newer parts of the city are gonna be on the upper side. Here particularly I'm thinking to do kind of like a more Eastern European Soviet city style infrastructure. I'm thinking like large avenues, oppressive buildings on either side. Let's see if we can integrate it well enough. And then here, medieval old town, you know, the Notre Dame Cathedral is gonna go somewhere here probably. A lot of pedestrian paths, a lot of irregular looking streets. Yeah, that's gonna be something to get those buildings to align. So now, as a phase 3, before we roll off with this episode, we're just gonna come here to Greenwood Glen, and we're going to mark our station, and we're going to loop our rail infrastructure as we've made on our plan. So I want particularly this line that I've dragged over here to join in with the Greenwood Glen train station, and to connect it to Brightwater over here. This way we can actually have a train going between Greenwood Glen and Brightwater right away, which is nice. You know, we can start it. It can be happening. I was sort of thinking to like offer a train stop here for the industrial estate, but let's see. Let's get to it first. So yeah, phase 3, and let's go. Greenwood Glen. Here it is, my friends. Did you enjoy this this part of the build? This one was a little bit it took me places, so I decided to revamp all of the roads. As you see, I added the markings. I removed like the middle markings of the roads. Like in these kind of housing estates, you generally wouldn't have, in Ireland at least, middle of the road markings. Like it's very like kept to the minimum. Even the yellow line is a little bit of a stretch. I just like having the yellow line there, so this is like my little gift to these roads. But yeah, this is what it looks like. And our Greenwood Hill, which is the new area over here, and this is what it looks like. We have a little business park here at the back. We have our train station bordering on the rural area, the lovely fields that we've kind of invented in this episode. We've got our parking lots, and yeah, we have our network, we have our trains. Great. And we have these fields, and also I kind of threw a little bit of these agricultural lands over there as a little bonus. I did this off camera, but you know how I do this. I got these surfaces, and you know, it's the same process like what we've evaluated in this episode. I also added these kind of row homes, the Georgian buildings, just again to add this bit of architectural diversity to our Irish towns, so that it's not all kind of like the same buildings, because in real life you don't have all of the same buildings. Like, you will have a lot of those type of buildings, but then you'll also have the later architectural elements in your town as well. So that's why I kind of wanted to use the opportunity to put them in, since I had the idea to make them, and then, you know, I invented them, so here they are. And I honestly love it. Like, Greenwood Glen is probably like, I probably like visually love it even more than Brightwater. But I love Brightwater, like, especially now after the revamp. It's incredible, and I love how the train is coming along, and I love that we've laid down our foundation for the train, because that will really help us with future expansions. And here are also the fields that I've added. So this is what it looks like. It's at the foot of our Brightwater head, and yeah, I think it just adds a little pop of something to our town, and I think it's nice and noteworthy to keep them in. Definitely gonna keep that in mind when we move over to this area in the next episode. So this is what we will be doing. We will predominantly focus on this industrial park, and we'll make it look beautiful and gorgeous, and that's what we're gonna be doing. But I'll also add all the vegetation on this hill that we have over here. Probably more fields are coming. So yeah, I mean, stay tuned. Now let's do our before and after shots, I think, and let's see our progress for today's episode. That was that. I hope that you enjoyed these little clips. I'm having so much fun making them, to be honest. I feel like my editing and my video game just in general has gotten a lot better. And thank you so much if you're sticking out with this series. If you like it, like, subscribe, drop a comment down below, introduce yourself, let me know that you're watching, and I will see you on the next one. Thank you and bye bye.